Okay, shoot.
No, this is excellent. You're making our job easier for us. So, yeah, Michael and I kind of arm wrestled over who got to ask you what question, and so I'm going to go first, and because I'm bigger and brawnier and terrier. But I guess my initial question is just about Grimm as a show, just because it's an incredibly quirky show, and it isn't the typical crime drama. So what initially attracted you to it, to audition for it?
Initially I really loved kind of the, I'm a big X-Files, I loved X-Files. So I loved something that was not your standard procedural. And I know that David Greenwalt and Jim Kaup kind of come from Buffy and Angel and X-Files and that kind of quirky kind of drama. I really wasn't in to do a procedural, and I don't think anyone was. I think we all were in basically because we really loved the mythology part of what they were pitching us in terms of our characters. So that for me was way more interesting than solving crimes every week. And I think that that's kind of the direction that they've always wanted to go, and I think that they're starting to go now. So for me, it was that, and they pitched this character to me, which wasn't in the initial script. I had actually auditioned for the part of Hank, which is the lead guy, Nick's partner. And
really?
It came down to me and Russell Hornsby and another guy. So it was the three of us, and I walked out of that test, and I turned to Russell and I said, if I don't get it, I hope you do, because I really wanted. I'm a big stickler for ethnic minority being cast, and so I said, if I don't get it, I hope you do. And seriously, like literally an hour later, he got the call. And my manager got a call saying I didn't get the role. Now, that night, I was about the next couple of days, I was about to test for a couple other series. They called back and said, listen, we really liked him, and we'd like to create a role for him. Is he still available? And I really liked what they pitched me as a character, and they pitched me this character of this cop that is kind of, sarcastic, quirky, very intelligent, and gets into a bit of trouble later on down the line in the series. And I liked the getting into a bit of trouble later on down the line in the series part. And I liked kind of how he dealt with that aspect. So I said, yeah. I mean, I loved what they pitched me, and I'm on board. So, it's always nice to have someone kind of create a role for you. That in itself kind of boosts my ego. So I'm like, yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Mike, are you still there?
Yeah, I am, as a matter of fact. I'll go with the next question. I'm sorry, go ahead, Ann.
Yeah, no. I was just I'm always afraid of this conference call of losing people. It's like the abyss. Okay, but no, that's... Yeah, I'm going to keep saying, Reggie, are you there? Reggie, are you there? And you'll say, I'm still
here.
Talking. Yes, I'm
here.
Still here.
Listen, I can talk forever, so I'll just stop when I'm done.
No. I'm enjoying talking to you, and I'm loving just, again, love the character. All right, Mike, I'm turning it over to you.
Sure, no problem. In a way, Reggie, you kind of answered the question that both Ann and I had for this next one. And Ann, I'm just going to kind of swipe this question for you since you have a lot more than me. But Reggie, we're seeing some interesting little tidbits about Sergeant Wu's character episode to episode, and both Ann and I are very snarky, very sarcastic. It's just the way that we are. So, like I said, you kind of answered that question about your character in a way, maybe because Sergeant Wu is no schlub in that department by any stretch of the imagination.
What's interesting is that they in the pilot there wasn't much. There wasn't really a lot for me to go on, and the whole sardonic part of this guy. This character that I play there was one line that he said that I was like, you know what, I'm going to base my character off of this. And it wasn't really something I think that they had envisioned would come to fruition as much as I just wanted to go that direction because I thought I have to have something to hold on to in terms of how this guy is and where that comes from, that kind of I think people that are snarky, sardonic, sarcastic, there's a reason to that in terms of their way of being, and I always kind of like to go for that in terms of a character and kind of go back to how that came to be. So I actually got it from one line in the pilot, and then I just kind of flew with it. And they kind of, as you know, with series, it's like, they may have like a general arc of the character, but it's kind of what the actor brings to it. You kind of work together to create this life. So from that, we all, the writers kind of caught on and started writing more like that. And I really, really loved it. So now we're full force that direction.
Nice. So just out of one line in the script, you just kind of took the ball and ran with it.
Yeah, because I mean, I really, it's something that, well, I kind of am in real life too, but I mean, it's something that I think is a really interesting aspect of someone and how they come to be. Yeah, it was definitely one line, and I loved from then on. And now when I get a script, I'm like, if I don't have any snarky lines, I'm like, oh, where are they? Come on.
Love it.
Rise up to the
Love
floor.
it.
So anyway, go ahead.
And back to you.
All right. I did have another question then, because you mentioned that he will get into trouble later on, and that was one of my questions further down the list. What trouble is he going to get in later on? And just how else is he going to develop?
Well, okay. So tonight is a repeat, but you're going to get that answer by next week. So
super.
You'll get that answer by next week. He likes. I think my character and the way I like to be in terms of this sergeant, this cop. I like to kind of like stick my hands in people's business. So I think it has a little bit to do with that, and it just gets him into a bit of trouble. So you'll see it for a little bit of time to come. That's all I can say. Sorry.
So where do you want the character to go next year then, since you guys have been picked up for an extra season?
I know, right? Oh, wow, that's a great question. That's a really great question. And, I think for all of us, we'd really love to be more involved. Okay, if I had my druthers, I'd like to be more involved in the mythology aspect of things. Nick's, his entire thing about seeing people morph and how he's able to solve crimes and the trouble, with his world closing in on him with, obviously everyone's got to find out at some point what's going on. So I think I'd just like for me to be more involved in that aspect of things, in the mythology. Now, in terms of my character, since my character is someone who likes to kind of like get into people's business, I'd like to get into more trouble and find a way to still keep my job and still keep face. So there's a lot of ways they could go with this, and obviously we probably don't know a lot of things that the writers are talking about, back at the office, but they're also probably going episode by episode. I know that David Greenwald said we all have a general arc to all our characters, and we've been pitched some of those things, but I'd really like to get more involved in the mythology aspect of things.
Okay. That'll be nice. I think that Russell Hornsby's character will be having woman problems, so yeah, love to see more on your side. So
yeah, no, it's interesting because it is. You'll see in this next episode. I mean, it's interesting because we were talking about my home life and all that kind of stuff with the producers, and you'll see a bit of that. So that's to come, and I think that's what a lot of people, a lot of fans, a lot of viewers want. You want to see into the personal lives of each of these characters. In that respect, you can kind of relate to them more. So that's coming up.
Okay, we definitely do. I mean, they've done an awesome job so far. All right, Mike, handing it off to you, and I will not hog the rest of the question list.
Oh, no problem at all. Let me expound on that, Reggie, a little bit about your character. A few reviews back, I mentioned that Sergeant Wu had some pretty awesome computer skills. There was a scene where he zapped a fuzzy license plate basically out of obscurity and nothing flat, and called that up on a computer screen. And of course,
I have to say that I love that you mentioned that. I read it. I remember it.
Oh, really?
I love it.
Great.
Because it's
Great.
a detail that a lot of
now in the real world, of course, things don't happen quite that quickly, but it's pretty impressive on the small screen to see your character kind of zap that stuff up. So, expounding on that a little bit, any other talents that Sergeant Wu might exhibit down the line that might best hold for a future episode where your character is showcased? Any thoughts on that?
I've always thought of this particular. Well, from my aspect, from my point of view, I've thought of this guy as kind of whip smart. I think if there's maybe episode 5 or 6, there was also something where we were kind of like tapping into phone lines and everything, and someone asked me if I can do it, and I said, of course, I'm Asian, and I can. So there's that aspect of my character that is like, you know what, this is I know I'm good at certain things, and I'm good at the technological aspect of things, and I'll own it. So I think that there's more of that to coming up. He's definitely someone that is out to prove himself. So there's going to be some of that coming up.
Nice, good, glad to hear it. Look forward to it. And back to you.
Okay. And I guess my other question then is, and this is not on the list, but I'm thinking about, right now we have the 2 detectives, and then we have your character who's the officer, and you're always the first on the scene, and we love that. Is there a possibility, and this is me projecting 2 or 3 seasons, or maybe even next season, when you become promoted to detective, and maybe...
Yeah. You know what? I love how you think. I love how you think. It's because aside from with the question that you asked me previously, aside from the fact that I would love to get more involved in the mythology aspect of things, I would love a promotion. Yes. Interesting side note that I'm a sergeant actually in this script, and when I did research on this, a sergeant would actually be above a detective. A sergeant manages a bunch, like a group of detectives, and so that's actually the reason that in my own mind, I'm first on the scene, because a sergeant usually assesses what's going on and then hands everything off to the detective. The way it's written sometimes is not like that. So, in our ways, we kind of have to rationalize, how does this work? Because I'm really above these guys. I'm actually the liaison between the captain and the detectives, is how it would work in real life. But, we kind of have to figure out how that works here, and I kind of have to rationalize every time I get a script. But then there is also a detective sergeant, and that's actually the promotion that I would love. Because that is a guy that would be a plainclothes detective that would be out on the scene that would still be a sergeant and still be above them. So to answer your question, it's interesting because I get that from a lot of viewers, is especially on Twitter, is can he please be promoted now? And, it's up to them. It's up to them. I think that there's also something really great in terms of if they would write something in about a struggle and in getting the promotion, So that would be great too. Either direction, but I would love one eventually. Thank you. Also, if you can call them and suggest that, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, I have his direct line right here, so I will call that shortly. But yeah, I mean, at the same time, I like the diversity of showing the different roles because normally TV we only see the plainclothes detectives. But at the same time, I'm thinking, I'd like to see Reggie Lee doing something else. But yeah, or Sergeant Wu becomes DS Wu. But yeah, all right, Michael, turning it over to you.
Okay, I'm going to change direction here a little bit, Reggie. Quite a few people, I've heard a lot of people, including some of our own writers, compared Grimm to Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Mm-hmm. Now, this is a show that I have not watched, and I'm kind of vilified for that, but you know what, I have big shoulders and I can handle it. But basically what they're doing is they're calling it a male version of that cult show. I was curious if you've seen Buffy, and if so, any comments along those lines?
Well, you know, Buffy, it's you know, we were all kind of speculating, as actors on this show, you know, we have a very tight cast, and it's not often that you have that, where you have 6 people that get along really well, and we were kind of speculating, you know, how do you think this will move forward? And we did. I've seen several episodes of Buffy. I wasn't a big, I've seen quite a few episodes of Buffy actually. But you know, she's got her kind of group of she's got her posse, and we were speculating if maybe this would go that direction. If it would go the direction that you know, David Gentoli, who plays Nick, would have his group that kind of knows what's going on and helps him solve crimes because they know what's going on. In my speculation, I definitely think that there's a flavor of that because of where these guys have come from. I again, in my speculation, don't think they're going to take it that direction because they've been there before. So I think that they'll take it in a completely different direction and give it some different curves. You know, that not everyone is on board with this whole thing. So I don't know, but I agree with you in that it's similar, but I don't think they're going to go down that path.